It was a bright and sunny day when I decided to embark on a solo hiking trip to the Haleakala campground in Hawaii. Nestled within the vast beauty of the Haleakala National Park, this campsite was renowned for its breathtaking views and serene atmosphere. Little did I know that this adventure would take an unexpected turn into the realm of fear and uncertainty. As I arrived at the campsite, I was immediately struck by its grandeur. Surrounded by lush greenery, the campground stretched over a vast area, accommodating several tents and campfire pits. The towering trees provided a natural canopy, casting dappled sunlight on the ground. The air was crisp, carrying the scent of pine mixed with a hint of wildflowers. Eager to explore, I pitched my tent in a secluded spot near the edge of the campground. Feeling the excitement of solitude and the beauty of nature, I set off on a nearby trail, hoping to capture some memorable photographs. The trail wound through dense foliage, with occasional glimpses of distant mountain peaks. The sound of birds and rustling leaves accompanied my every step, creating a sense of tranquility. As the day progressed, the sun began its descent, casting long shadows across the campsite. I returned to my tent, feeling a twinge of unease, as if something was amiss. The once vibrant campground now seemed eerily quiet. The absence of fellow campers heightened my sense of isolation. I shrugged off these feelings, attributing them to my overactive imagination. Night fell, and darkness enveloped the campsite. I sat by my campfire, the crackling flames providing a flickering source of comfort. The silence became deafening, broken only by the distant hooting of an owl. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Every rustle of leaves, every distant creaking branch, sent shivers down my spine. Unable to ignore my growing unease, I decided to retreat into my tent. The fabric walls offered little solace as the night pressed in around me. I lay there, wide awake, my senses heightened and my heart pounding. The wind whispered through the trees, creating an eerie symphony that filled the air. Just as I began to contemplate packing up and leaving, a sudden realization struck me. The campsite had a reputation for its tranquility and solitude, beckoning those seeking solace from the chaos of the outside world. That's when it hit me. The haunting silence was the very essence of this place. It was an invitation to embrace the peace and solitude, to confront my fears head-on. With renewed determination, I stepped out of my tent and gazed up at the starlit sky. The darkness that had once filled me with dread now seemed to hold infinite possibilities. I took a deep breath, inhaling the crisp night air, and embraced the stillness surrounding me. The following morning, as the first rays of sunlight bathed the campground, I felt a sense of accomplishment and inner peace. I packed up my belongings, leaving behind the lingering fear that had gripped me the night before. The Haleakala campground had tested my resilience and offered me a chance to confront my darkest fears. As I left the campsite, I couldn't help but look back one last time, grateful for the experience it had provided. The Haleakala campground had proven to be more than just a place. It had become a metaphor for facing one's fears and emerging stronger on the other side. I was hiking in the mountains, and I had been walking for hours. I was tired, but I knew I had to keep going. I was determined to reach the summit before sunset. The trail was steep, and I had to be careful not to slip on the loose rocks. I was alone, and the only sounds were the rustling of the leaves and the occasional bird chirping. As I climbed higher, the air grew colder, and the sky began to darken. I knew I had to hurry. Suddenly, I heard a loud noise behind me. I turned around, but there was nothing there. I shrugged it off and kept walking. A few minutes later, I heard the noise again. This time, it was louder. I turned around, and I saw a large rock rolling down the hill towards me. I jumped out of the way just in time, and the rock crashed into the ground. I was shaken, but I kept walking. I knew I had to get off the mountain before it got dark. But then, I heard the noise again. This time, it was coming from above me. I looked up, and I saw a boulder the size of a car rolling down the mountain towards me. I ran as fast as I could, but I knew I couldn't outrun it. I looked around for a place to hide, but there was nowhere to go. I closed my eyes and braced for impact. But then I heard a voice. It was a rescue team, and they had come to save me. They pulled me to safety just in time, and I was relieved to be alive. I learned a valuable lesson that day. I realized that hiking can be dangerous, and it's important to be prepared for anything. I also learned that there are good people in the world who are willing to help others in need. I had been planning this hiking trip for weeks. I was excited to get out into the wilderness and explore the beautiful scenery. I had packed all of my gear and set out early in the morning. The sun was shining, and the birds were singing. It was the perfect day for a hike. I had been walking for a few hours when I came across a sign that read, "Trail closed." I hesitated for a moment, but then decided to continue on. I figured that the trail must have been closed for some minor reason, and that it would be safe to continue. As I walked further down the trail, I began to notice that the trees were getting thicker and the air was getting colder. I started to feel uneasy, but I couldn't quite put my finger on why. I kept walking, hoping that I would come across something that would put me at ease. Suddenly, I heard a rustling in the bushes. I froze, listening intently. I heard it again, and this time it was closer. I started to panic. I didn't know what was out there, but I knew that I didn't want to find out. I turned around and started running back the way I had come. I could hear the rustling getting louder and louder behind me. I didn't dare look back. I just kept running. Finally, I burst out of the trees and onto the main trail. I looked back, but there was nothing there. I was safe. But as I turned to continue down the main trail, I saw something that made my blood run cold. There, in the distance, was a huge creature. It was at least 10 feet tall, with long, shaggy fur and piercing red eyes. It was staring right at me. I froze, unsure of what to do. The creature started to move towards me, slowly at first, but then picking up speed. I turned and ran as fast as I could, but I could hear the creature getting closer and closer. Just when I thought it was all over, I saw a group of hikers up ahead. They were waving their arms and shouting, trying to get my attention. I ran towards them, and the creature stopped chasing me. The hikers told me that they had seen the creature before. They called it the Bigfoot of the mountains. They said that it was a legendary creature that had been spotted in the area for years. I was shaken, but relieved to be safe. I knew that I would never forget my encounter with the Bigfoot of the mountains. The dense woods swallowed me whole as I ventured deeper into the unknown trail. The daylight flickered through the thick canopy, creating an eerie play of shadows on the forest floor. My hiking boots crunched on fallen leaves, the only sound disrupting the heavy silence. The rustle of leaves and distant creaks echoed in the stillness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a chill crept through the air, sending shivers down my spine. The trail seemed to stretch endlessly, with no signs of civilization in sight. My surroundings became an indistinct blur as the encroaching darkness enveloped the forest. Suddenly, a distant howl pierced the quietude, making my heart skip a beat. I dismissed it as a mere trick of the wilderness, but an unsettling feeling clung to me like a shadow. My pace quickened, yet the trail seemed to elongate, twisting and turning in the gathering gloom. Amid the blackened trees, I stumbled upon an abandoned campsite. Tattered remnants of a tent fluttered in the breeze, and a long-extinguished fire pit lay cold and lifeless. The air grew thicker, and a knot tightened in my stomach. I tried to shake off the unease, convincing myself it was just a relic of someone's forgotten adventure. Pushing forward, I stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin hidden deep in the heart of the forest. Its weather-beaten exterior spoke of years of neglect, yet a dim light flickered in one of the windows. My breath caught in my throat as I cautiously approached, curiosity overcoming my trepidation. The creaking door groaned as I pushed it open, revealing an interior untouched by time. Dust-covered furniture hinted at a life once lived, frozen in the quiet solitude of the woods. A draft whispered through the stillness, causing the solitary light bulb overhead to sway gently. As I explored further, I discovered a hidden room at the back of the cabin. The air grew heavy with an inexplicable sorrow, and my senses heightened. A dusty journal lay open on a wooden desk, its pages filled with the lamentations of a soul long gone. The writer spoke of the isolation, the gnawing loneliness, and the choice to embrace the eternal solitude of the forest. A photograph caught my eye, a faded image of a smiling couple standing in front of the very cabin, taken decades ago. The weight of the past pressed upon me, and an understanding dawned. The forest had become their final refuge, a haven far from the reaches of the world they sought to escape. Leaving the cabin behind, I retraced my steps through the twisting trail. The night had fully descended, yet the woods no longer felt foreboding. A sense of closure accompanied me, as if the spirits of the forgotten souls had found peace through the acknowledgement of their story. Emerging from the trees, the moonlit clearing greeted me with a gentle breeze, dispelling the lingering tension. The trailhead lay ahead, and the distant sounds of civilization beckoned. I carried the tale of the forgotten cabin with me, a reminder of the mysteries concealed within the heart of the woods, waiting for those willing to listen.